Okay, welcome you all. So, very good morning. I hope you all are busy. The last whole week for different places in a different Radha Yatras happen. I mean, especially our centers. So that's great. So whenever we see the Lord, we pay obeisances. Even that's what this verse also says that. Like, can you all see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
What you able to?
Bhagavad-gītā, Sloka Prabhu.
Okay, right. Okay, let us, before that, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Rishikesh, the controller of all my senses and the origin of everything, as the Supreme Master of all bodily, mental, and intellectual activities. He is the only enjoyer of their results, the five sense objects and 11 senses, including the mind, or his partial manifestations. He supplies all the necessities of life, which are his energy, and thus not different from him. And he is the cause of everyone's bodily and mental progress, which is also non different from him. Indeed, he is the husband and provider of necessities for all living entities. The purpose of all the Vedas is to worship him. Therefore, let us all offer him our respectful obeisances. May he always be favorable toward us in this life and the next. Jai. So, today's verse is chapter 9, 14th verse from Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. Satatam kītayanto mam yatantascha dridavratha namasyantasya mam bhaktya nitya ukta upasate. So here it is saying that Mahatmas are always engaged in glorifying Krishna, great souls, okay? And Dhradavrata, they are determined, they never give up despite challenges. Chanting, they practice constant remembrance through Kirtana, Namaskar, offering obeisances and Bhakti. They do all the devotional services, 9 varieties of devotional services. They are Nitya Yuktas, always connected to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that a devotee's life is filled with activities of devotion, not mechanical rituals, but heartfelt service to Krishna. Why this verse is so important? Because a true devotee has a certain qualities. The quality shows us by saying that they constantly glorify the Lord and with unwavering determination, and they exhibit humility each and every action of their devotional services, dealing with the devotees or even material people. They are never changed, and they have heartfelt worship towards Krishna. And it teaches us a daily practice, kirtan, they chant not daily, every single second, chanting Hare Krishna, offering obeisances, consistent devotional mood, and it connects us always with Krishna. Like no break in spiritual consciousness, protect us from material illusion. Okay, that's what he says that Krishna is telling in this verse. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantasya dradavrata namasyantasya mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, along with the other names of the Lord, is not ordinary names. They're very powerful names. One who utters a single second of their Lordship's names of different forms and different names, and remembering whatever in devotional activities we do, it will give us immense pleasure. That pleasure in bhakti. Prabhupada says here, the Mahatmas cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. The symptoms are described here as Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord. So, but in modern days, what happens to sometimes to save ourselves in the job or to get in favor from our boss, we have to glorify him. And in order to get a favor from anyone, we have to glorify. If you want to get favor from your friend or your well-known person, you have to glorify them. Unless until you glorify, they cannot favor you. That's so. Actually, this glorification we only should use for Krishna, because he is the ultimate source who is providing everything. That's okay. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatmas. Yes, there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distress, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into three. He who worships himself as one of the Supreme Lord, he who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that, and number three, he who acts the universal form, that Vishwarupa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worships that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be the monist or most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also type of God worship. For they can understand that we are not the material body, but are actually spiritual soul. At least such sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. Okay, the second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who by imagination considering any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. And The third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. The universe is also a form of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Charitamrita he says, Tanar Pratignya Moraena Karibe Darshana Mora Pratignya Tanva Vina Chadiva Chivana means Pratapudra in Chaitanya Charitamrita Pratapudra King Pratapudra continued that if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is determined not to see me, then I am determined to give up my life if I do not see him. See, a devotee mood is like that. If Krishna is not seeing us, then I am determined to give up my life if I do not see him. A devotee with Maharaj's determination will certainly be victorious in advancing in Krishna consciousness. That's what Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantasya Dadavrata Namasyantasya Mam Bhaktya Nitya Yukta Upasate. Always chanting his glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before him, these great souls perpetually worship with devotion. These are the symptoms of Mahatma engaged in the Lord's service in full Krishna consciousness. Thus, Maharaj Pratap Rudra's determination is very much exalted and is called Dhradavrata. Because of this determination, he was finally able to receive Lord Chaitanya's direct mercy. Yeah, and if you see from Bhagavatam, so there are so many verses glorifying the Lord and His glories and His beauty, His name, His form. So I can say some few words like Sakrat Yadanga Pratimantara Hita Manomayi Bhagavatim Dadogatim Saeva Nitya Nityatma Sukanubhute Abhi Vidustamayo Targato hi kim puna. If even only once or even by force one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasura. What then is to be said of those whose hearts the personality, supreme personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation? Are those who always think of this lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed. The process for receiving the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is it's Yatpad Pankaja Valasa Vilasa Bhaktya. Simply by thinking of Krishna, one can attain him very easily. Krishna is also described as having his lotus feet always within the hearts of his devotees. Bhagavan Bhakta Hrini Stita. In the case of Aghasura, like now, one may argue that he was not a devotee. The answer is to that he thought of Krishna for a moment with devotion. Bhaktyaham yekya grahya. With devotion, one cannot think of Krishna. And conversely, whenever one thinks of Krishna, one undoubtedly has devotion. Although Aghasura's purpose was to kill Krishna. For a moment, Aghasura thought of Krishna with devotion, and Krishna and his associates wanted to sport within Aghasura's mount, like in mouth. They all went to. We read in Bhagavatam, and Krishna Krishna book, Prabhupada have particularly explained, and we also seen that little Krishna cartoon. We should not say cartoon. It's little Krishna, the version of cartoon. So which produced by devotees, whoever. So see how Agasura, he made himself such a way that it's like playing object. So then by using his tongue, once they enter into tongue, then that slow, Prabhupada explained very beautifully. So even Agasura has expanded himself to attract the Krishna with a tinge of devotion. Similarly, Putana wanted to kill Krishna by poisoning him. But Krishna took her as mother because he had accepted the milk of her breast. Swalpam apesya dharmasya trayato mahato bhayat. We learn from second chapter Bhagavad-gītā. It shows like in the second chapter it tells us the most of the this second chapter all chapter tells us the soul, who are we, especially when Krishna appears as an avatara. Anyone who thinks of Krishna in different incarnations, Ramadimurteshu Kala Niyamena Thistham, especially in his original form as Krishna attains salvation, there are many instances of this, and among them is Agasura, who attained the salvation of Sarupya Mukti. Therefore, the process is Satatam Ketayanto Mam Yatantasya Dradavrata. Those who are devotees always engage in glorifying Krishna. Advaitam Achyutam Anadir Ananta Rupam. When we speak of Krishna, we refer to all his avatars such as Krishna, Govinda, Narayana, Vishnu, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Balaram, and Syamasundara, Madhav. One who is always thinks of Krishna must attain Vimukti. Special salvation as the Lord's personal associate, not necessarily in Vrindavan, but at least in Vaikuntha, this is called Sarupya Mukti. Right? So, that's what Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. The energies of the Supreme Lord are understood in different ways. Like the original source of everything, even our body, senses, mind activities provides bodily strength, mental strength, and determination for securing the necessities of life. Indeed, the Lord's energies can be perceived in everything, as stated in Bhagavad-gītā 7.8. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. We say, right? What is that meaning? Rasoham apsu kaunteya. He is the taste of water. He is also Krishna. He says, I am the greatest in the mounts, like Himalayas. Is in the form of Himalaya, he is there in the form of, he is the greatest of all the mountains. The greatest mountain is Himalayas. Krishna is the active principle of everything we need for our maintenance. When we offer respectful obeisances unto the Lord was composed by Rama, the goddess of fortune, and is full of spiritual power under like the guidance of the spiritual master. Everyone should chant this mantra. And thus become a complete and perfect devotee of the Lord. One may chant this mantra for complete liberation from material bondage. And after liberation, one may continue to chant it while worshipping the Supreme Lord in Vaikuntha Loka. All mantras of course, are meant for this life and for the next life. As Krishna himself confirms in Bhagavad-gītā, so this was Satatam Ketayanto Mam Yatantasya Dadavratan Namasyantasya Mam Bhaktya Nitya Yukta Upasate, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down to me, before me. The great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. A devotee who both in this life and the next chants the Maha Mantra or any mantras is called Nitya Yukta Upasate. So in the beginning of see in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by the yajna sacrifice because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. The material creation by the Lord of creatures, the Vishnu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of our forgetfulness of our relationship with Krishna or Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are to help us to understand this eternal relation. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedesha Sarvair Aham Veda Vedya. The Lord says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Him. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Patim Vishwasyatmeshwaram. Therefore, the Lord of the living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms that 2.4 and 20, Sukadeva Goswami describes the Lord as Pati in so many ways. Shriyapatir, Yajnapatir, Prajapatir, Dhyampatir, Lokapatir, Dharapati, Patir Gatis Chandaka, Chandaka Vrishni Sattvatam, Prasaditam Me Bhagavan Satam, Pati. The Prajapati is Lord Vishnu and he is the Lord of all living creatures, all worlds, all beauties, and the protector of everyone. The Lord created his material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to form yajnas for the satisfaction of Vishnu or for him, so that while in this material world they can live very comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body they can enter into kingdom of God. This is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtana yajna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures. And this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtana Yajna and Krishna consciousness go well together. The Krishna in this devotional form as Lord Chaitanya is mentioned in the different Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parsharam Yajne Sankirtana Prayir Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Sorry. So in this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates by performance of Sankirtana Yajna. Other yajnas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in this age of Kali. But the Sankirtana Yajna is very easy and sublime for all purposes, as recommended in Bhagavad-gītā also. Right? That's what this we were discussing this verse. So the practical implementation daily life, how do we do this? Daily chanting, practice Hare Krishna Maha Mantra regularly, as taught by Srila Prabhupada, make it a habit, not a ritual. And bhakti is based on our lifestyle. So change our lifestyle. If our lifestyle is not helping us progressing in devotional service, change our lifestyle accordingly. Okay. So how do we change? Compulsory we have to eat something daily. Okay. And compulsory we have to go office. And compulsory we have to do some work. So whatever we are eating, that food offer to Krishna before eating. And always remember his names while working, while driving. Okay. And dedicate your skills and time to Krishna service. If some people are experts, or like no, there is one article yesterday. This material world is IT jobs. Sorry, I'm not uh, undermining anyone. I was also working as a IT employee before I joined ashrama. So that is the highest paid job. Whatever skills we have, that skills we can use for Krishna service. And especially burdened mentally and physically, kaya mano vakya. Sometimes we are passing on the road, we see temples. We cannot stop vehicle or we cannot get down from the vehicle, public transportation or our own transportation. So you offer your respective obeisances. That was time, place, circumstances. Kaya Manu Vakya. Develop humility and respect for the Lord and devotees. Touching your head to the ground, Dandavat Pranam reinforces mood. After Mangalarti, when we do Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhye Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaisnavyabhyo Namo Namaha, that relaxation is really amazing. You do now also. You feel such a relaxation. Not for relaxation. It will help us to advance in devotional service. Stay determined. Despite obstacles, never give up Krishna consciousness. Associate with like-minded devotees for strength. Why is this so essential? Because constant remembrance of Krishna protects us from Maya, keeps our heart pure and peaceful, gives the highest happiness, spiritual satisfaction beyond material gains, builds builds unshakable faith and determination to progress toward the supreme goal, pure love of God. Just as like a great learned Brahmanas who are expert in performing ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices can extract the fire dormant within wooden fuel by chanting the 15 Samidheni mantras, thus providing the efficacy of the Vedic mantras. So those who are actually advanced in consciousness, in other words, those who are Krishna conscious can find the super soul who by his own spiritual potency is situated within the heart. The heart is covered by the three modes of material nature and the 9 material elements. Material nature, the total material energy, the ego, the mind, and the 5 objects of sense gratification, and also by the 5 material elements and the 10 senses. These 27 elements constitute the external energy of the Lord. Great yogis meditate upon the Lord who is situated as the Supreme Soul, Paramatma, within the core of the heart. May that Super Soul be pleased with me. The Super Soul is realized when one is eager for liberation from the ultimate varieties of material life. One actually attains such liberation when he engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord and realizes the Lord because of his attitude of service. The Lord may address by various spiritual names which are inconceivable to the material senses. Okay? When will that Supreme Personality of Godhead be pleased with me? Yesham tvantagatam papam jnanam punya karma te dhanva mohamita bhajante mam dradabhrata. Okay? What it says that persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. So always chanting the glories of Krishna says that always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead after transcending all material impediments. Therefore, Lord Krishna also says in Bhagavad-gītā, same chapter 7.3, what he says? Manushyanam sahasreshu kashit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kashchin mam veti tattvataha. Out of many thousands of among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So, to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one must undergo severe penances and austerities. But since the path of devotional service is perfect, by following this process, one can very easily come to the spiritual platform and understand the Lord. This too is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Again, it says, Bhaktya mam avijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato vishate tat anantaram. Krishna says that one who can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is the only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So, although the subject matter is Durvijneyam means extremely difficult to understand, it becomes easy if one follows the prescribed method. Coming in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is possible through pure devotional service by taking shelter of a spiritual master, one who guides us unlimitedly for our eternal benefit. One who takes his shelter, his life becomes successful, and which begins with Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. In this regard, Vishwanath Chakravarti also says that anyway, it is mentioned in like now Bhagavatam says that Pravishta Swami Saroham. The process of hearing and chanting enters the core of the heart, and in this way, one becomes a pure devotee. By continuing this process, one comes to the stage of transcendental love, and then he appreciates the transcendental name, form, qualities, and past tense of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, A pure devotee, by devotional service, is able to see Supreme Personality of Godhead despite many material impediments, which are all various energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, easily making his way through these impediments. A devotee comes directly in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After all, the material impediments described as like various energies of the Lord. When a devotee is eager to see the Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead, he prays to Lord. ऐनंदन तनुजा किंकरम पतितां महा विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पाद पंकजा स्थित धूलि सदृशम विचिंतया. What we say, we should say that, O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of birth and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Being pleased with the devotee, the Lord turns all his material impediments into spiritual service. In this connection, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes from Vishnu Purana what he says that Halagni Sanadhini Sambhiti Tvaye Eka Sarvas Samastito Halagata Mishra Tvayi No Guna Varjite. So here the prayer say that the form of the Lord is beyond the jurisdiction of the material form and is therefore inconceivable. A devotee prays, however, my dear Lord, be pleased with me so that I may very easily see your transcendental form and potency. Non-devotees try to understand the Supreme Brahman by discussions of Neti Neti in Nisheda Nirvana Sukha Anubhuti. A devotee, however, simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, avoids such laborious speculations and realizes the existence of the Lord very easily. That's what Shrunvan Granam Samasaryams Cha Chintyam Nam Nirupani Cha Mangalani Te Kriyashriya Twacharana Ravindayo Avista Chetana Bhavya Kalpate. So even while engaged in the various activities, devotees whose minds are completely absorbed at your lotus feet and who constantly hear, chant, contemplate, and cause others to remember your transcendental names and forms are always on the transcendental platform, and thus they can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How Bhakti Yoga can be practiced is explained in the Vedas. It gives us from Bhagavatam, we see Rupa Goswami has said that anyone who has dedicated his life to the service of the Lord, Iha Yashas Hare Dhasye, by his activities, his mind and his words, Karmana Manasa Gira, may stay in any condition of life. Nikalashva Api Avastashu, and it is no longer actually conditioned but is liberated. Jivan Mukta Sa Uchyate, even though such a devotee is in material body, he has nothing to do with his body, for he is transcendentally situated. Narayana Para Sarvena Hutashana Vibhayati, because a devotee is engaged in transcendental activities, is not afraid of being materially embodied. Yeah. This is liberated position. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed, Mama Janmane Janmaneshware Bhavata Bhakti Rahe Tvai. All I want is your causeless devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Even if a devotee by supreme will of the Lord takes the birth in this material world, he continues his devotional service. See, in King Bharata's life, he made a mistake. In his next life, he became a deer. His devotional service did not stop. Gajendra, we see Gajendra. Although some slight chastisement was given to him because of his negligence, Narada Muni says that even if one falls from the platform of devotional service, he is no lost. Wherever non-devotees are lost entirely because they are not engaged in the service. Therefore, recommends that one always engages at least in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To do that, how to understand that Satatam Kitayanto Mam Yatantasya Dradavratha Namasyantasya Mam Bhaktyan Ityakta Pasate. One should not give up the process of devotional service, which is performed in 9 different ways. Okay? Avaishnava mukodhim putam harikatamrutam shravanam naiva kartavyam saropshishtam yatapayah. We should strictly follow this injunction and never try to hear from Mayavadis, impersonalists, voidist politicians, or so-called scholars. Strictly avoiding such inauspicious association, we should simply hear from pure devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore recommends Shri Guru Padasraya. One must seek shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who can be once a guru. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advises that a guru is one who strictly follows the instructions of the Bhagavad-gītā. Yare deha kaha Krishna upadesha. Tare kaha Krishna upadesha. A juggler, a magician, or one who speaks nonsense as an academic career is not a guru. Rather, a guru is one who presents Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's instructions as it is. Shravana is very important. One must hear from the Vaishnava Sadhu, Guru and Shastra. Okay. So I'll be concluding. Yes, will be seen in the Bhagavad Gita. Actually, devotion service begins after liberation. After one is liberated, when one is situated in the Brahman position. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nasochati Nakamchati. Once devotional service begins, Samasarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. No one can understand the personality of Godhead by executing Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or any other yoga independently. By these yogic methods, one may make a little progress toward Bhakti Yoga. But without coming to the stage of devotional service, one cannot understand what is the personality of Godhead. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed that when one becomes purified by executing the process of devotional service, especially by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita from realized souls. Who is that realized souls? Guru, Sadguru. Sadguru means who comes under a disciplic succession, a parampara. Then he can understand the science of Krishna, other science of God. Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata. He says in Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, verse 20th, he says that one whose heart is cleared of all nonsense, then one can understand what God is. Thus, the process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education. the king of all confidential knowledge. It is the purest form of religion, and it can be executed joyfully without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it. That's what where it says that Rajavidyaha Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Avyayam. Same Bhagavad-gītā, 9th chapter, 2nd verse says that. So, the conclusion is that the pure devotees whose hearts are always filled with Krishna cannot forget him even for a moment. That is the sign of real Mahatma. So, Srila Prabhupada showed this practically by establishing ISKCON and encouraging Hare Krishna mantra chanting worldwide, demonstrating practically by action. So, what we take away of for the life by hearing these 45 minutes, keep chanting, stay humble, serve with love, never forget Krishna. Okay? Keep chanting, stay humble, serve with love, never forget Krishna. Okay? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnava vrinda ki